Clyde enjoys tinkering, has imitated him by creating a bracelet for him, and is now creating one for his mother. His wife requests that he unlock it. When he does, he is pushed down and two robbers enter the home. "You can't resist destiny," says one of the thieves, Darby. Stabs Clyde. Rupert, Darby's sidekick, wants to leave but is merely warned to stop talking. When his small daughter appears, Clyde is made to see his wife's rape and death. Prosecutor Nick, who is focused on his career, discussing the Clyde case with a coworker. The situation got out of control last night when a court decided that DNA was not permitted to come from the crime site. Instead of going to trial, he chooses to accept a plea bargain. Clyde meets with Nick and gives him some notes that he believes might be useful in the case. Darby has consented to testify against Rupert, Nick announces after setting aside the notes. Someone will go to death row with his testimony. Darby may get a 5-year jail term. She is shocked and already emotionally traumatized. He urges Nick to reject the offer but already made a decision. The whole episode was arranged in the courtroom to seem as if Rupert was the primary offender. Outside, Darby sarcastically praises Nick for his press conference on the decision. For standing up for him. Nick returns home after a challenging day at work. Kelly, his wife, to ease his anxiety. A decade afterward. While Nick's daughter is now an adult, he is still quite active. Miss his daughter's performance at school, and Kelly is furious that he is abandoning. The execution of Rupert is scheduled for today, by fatal injection, and Nick is present with his coworker Sarah. Instead of his daughter's performance, the execution. The last thing Rupert said was that he wasn't the one accountable for Clyde's family's death. Sarah and Nick don't like that at all. 3 medications are injected into Rupert in a certain sequence. The warden says that because it has never occurred before, they are not to blame for the man's suffering. As a police officer comes, he offers the attorneys a bottle that says, "Can't fight destiny." When Nick hears this remark, the cops inquire into Darby and track him down. He gets a call when Darby, who is smelling flour, is at his place. The voice is hushed yet conveys every detail regarding the subject. Darby starts to worry. Police are coming at him from all directions, he notices. Darby runs outside and shoots a couple times at the police vehicles. He discovers a cop dozing off in his vehicle on the way there. He enters and grabs his weapon. Darby dragged him outside. Before getting to his knees, Darby makes a call and discovers that his savior was Clyde himself, of course. Darby attempts to shoot him, but the pistol is a trap. Darby is immobile but can still feel everything. Afterward, Clyde holds him in his warehouse and claims that Darby will experience agony that he has never experienced before. He made the necessary arrangements to postpone his passing as long as possible. Before he starts torturing, informing him that he had experienced being powerless since he was 10 years old, and starts tearing Darby apart. Sarah and Nick talk about the manipulation of the fatal injection. Darby wasn't involved since he lacks the intelligence to pull it off. A bit later, Darby is discovered by the police in 25 pieces. They alert Nick of the terrible scene. Sees that Clyde is the only one with motivation. The warehouse where Darby was discovered is also owned by him. They round his home, and Clyde welcomes them graciously but in his underwear. He has been detained and is en route. In Clyde's residence, they discover legal and a torn-out newspaper clipping depicting Nick and Darby shaking hands. They can only hope for a confession since, regrettably, they have no evidence to use against him. Nick's daughter begs Mom not to play the tape of what was meant to be her performance. The DVD is secretly inserted by Nick's daughter. That is Clyde mutilating Darby. Confronting Clyde is Nick. He cuts off the live connection and puts on a quick performance, pretending that Clyde has done something. Clyde indirectly admits that he meant to murder Darby and Rupert and had been formulating ways to murder them over and over in his brain. Nick interprets this as a confession. Inadmissible since he never explicitly admitted to killing anybody and is aware that they lack any supporting evidence. Even though Darby was discovered dead in Clyde's warehouse, Clyde is the owner of multiple properties nationwide. As Clyde requests a bed, Jonas, Nick's boss, reprimands him for declining the offer. An admission about a mattress. Nick is certain that Clyde is teasing them, urges him to close the transaction once again. The mattress Clyde desired is delivered. The warden criticizes Clyde in his statement. Nick makes a case to the judge to reject Clyde's bail. His justification is that he says he's a law-abiding person, and there is not a crumb of evidence that would justify keeping him in jail without bail. According to Nick, Clyde consented to make a complete confession. Everyone is stunned. He chastises the judge once more for being foolish. Bail is refused. Later, under questioning, Clyde recounts the recording he sent him as follows, to explain that he has one more confession to make, but he demands something in exchange. Clyde says he wants an iPod in and a 20-ounce medium-rare steak. Clyde promises Nick the life of Bill Reynolds as his confession before Nick departs. Nick hurries to the chopper, and they take off toward the location. While eating the steak with his cellmate, who had just threatened him, Clyde listens to his iPod while doing so. They immediately become close friends, but Clyde, who was following the woman, knew it was all an act. Bill was discovered by Nick buried with an oxygen mask on. He's gone. Hence, if Clyde had eaten his lunch on time, Bill would be alive today. Sarah sends Nick a note informing him that Clyde killed his father. Nick visits Clyde when he is being held in isolation, requesting the purpose of murdering all of these folks. Nick hands Clyde his daughter's bracelet and inquires about his family's pride in him. He is exacting revenge in their honor. An officer from the government who knows more about Clyde is introduced to Nick and Jonas. He claims that Clyde is a natural strategist who can murder someone even when he is not in the same room as them. If Clyde is behind bars, he voluntarily chose to be there. The cellmate he murdered was not random. He advises them to search for the next piece since this pawn was taken off the board. The official informs Nick that entering Clyde's cell and using a chokehold there is the only option to stop him. Since he is targeting everyone who was there, he cannot be stopped without a gunshot to the head. If Clyde wants you dead, you're dead, he adds as he walks away. In a jail interrogation room, Nick visits Clyde. He inquires about his sidekick. The goal of this retaliation is. When Nick still does not comprehend what it means, Clyde becomes irate. If he had sought vengeance, he would have killed his family during the previous 10 years. A couple of guards lead Clyde to a maximum isolation cell. Nick and Sarah go over paperwork, but with little success, to discover any hints as to who is assisting Clyde from outside. Sarah begins to question whether they made the proper choice at the time to accept the contract with Derby. Sarah starts her vehicle. Everyone is killed as the explosives linked to the autos detonate. Nick is certain that someone is assisting Clyde since he is still behind bars. Nick and Jonas meet the mayor. Nobody can believe that one individual in custody could do such harm. Nick tells his family to go somewhere secure and declares a vacation. As Nick enters the building, he discovers the newspaper story in the frame, which indicates that someone has been in his home. As Clyde returns to the jail, is beaten by Nick out of fury. He simply needs to warm up. Nick stops the detective as he attempts to draw his revolver. Clyde claims this. Nick will experience a biblical event, but is starting to question himself. A military drone outfitted with a machine gun, an EMP, and a rocket launcher is being controlled by clothes. Anti-tank bullets are all over Jonas' automobile, and to make. Jonas blows up the automobile, certain he is finished. The mayor finds it hard to believe Nick ignored this. She wants to terminate him. As the new district attorney, she names him. Philadelphia's mayor has declared an emergency. Command to lock down the whole city, Nobody is permitted to travel about the city without restriction. An email from Sarah's contact is sent to Nick. That relates to the property that Clyde purchased. He locates all the homes that have just sold in Philadelphia. He meets the investigator to inspect the garage. They come upon a floor hole. Clyde created a tunnel that passes straight under the jail. Clyde slips past security while pretending to be a cleaner. Went past a light check into City Hall. Nick and the investigator discover that Clyde has cameras everywhere, including at Nick's home. With a napalm bomb, Clyde kills the mayor, who was going to have a security meeting shortly. Soon later, Nick and the investigator show up. They must move stealthily to avoid tipping off Clyde that they are after him. On the 5th floor, just below the meeting room, they see Clyde's cart, which they think the bomb is. And a few of the agents assigned to watch Clyde's warehouse see him and call. In the underground, Clyde walks to his tools and waits for the meeting to start. He climbs to his cell and takes his phone. Clyde gets shocked by Nick in his cell. Clyde is given a way out when a man with a pistol encourages him to act morally. Clyde inquires as to why he is here. Finally, a bargain. Nick claims to have now understood what Clyde has been attempting to communicate to him. Under Clyde's bed, Nick has hidden the bomb-packed suitcase. Before his cage catches fire and explodes, he gives his daughter's bracelet. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.